Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor and the Corsair for drinks and maybe a fight, or both, in episode 504. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Pretty good. How about you? Hanging in
Ready
there?
for a drink.
Everybody's well this week and rearing and ready to go, right?
Do well.
Did you guys do anything?
I am well.
Did you guys do anything fun?
I watched the Halloween Town series.
Oh, I love those films.
I had
How
never
many
seen
films
them
are
before.
there?
Really?
Yeah.
4?
There are 4. And the first 2 are a bit childish, but fun in that, made for kids Disney Channel movie kind of run. And I really enjoyed the third one, Halloween Town High. And thought the Return to Halloween Town, where they go to college, was rather abysmal.
Yeah, that is the weakest of the series.
You can definitely see that as Harry Potter came out during the time frame they were making these, that they really shifted focus. Oh, we need to get these kids in school. And it's like, no, you just kept doing your own thing. That was cute. This is not. But yeah, they're not bad. It wasn't the series I intended to do this year for Halloween, but we have a 5-year-old, must.
We watched Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. In fact, I just watched it tonight.
Oh,
What did you guys think?
It was cute.
It's cute. It's 2 of my favorite things. It's the Muppets and the Haunted Mansion. I think it struggles sometimes it struggles with its story a bit. It's kind of neat that they hit a lot of the highlights and a lot of the points that involve the lore of the ride. There's some really funny moments, but overall I just felt like the story kind of lacked a bit. I also felt like Gonzo wasn't quite on his game, and that's Dave Gillespie doing Gonzo, who's been doing it from the beginning. I think he's the only one left that actually does the voice of the character he started with. It was good. It was cute. I think is a good descriptor for it. I laughed at quite a few jokes and cringed at a lot of them as well. But
Well, you want some of those from the Muppets anyways.
yeah. I did like. Go ahead.
Oh, just as somebody who's not well versed in the Haunted Mansion lore, I think I lost a lot from that aspect of it. It almost felt too steeped in a lot of the Haunted Mansion stuff, as opposed to just I came to it for a fun Halloween Muppet thing, and was a little disappointed on that aspect.
I can see that. I kind of feel the same way because I've only ridden it once.
Oh, I've ridden it dozens of times.
Have you never been?
Four of those dozens was probably in one trip. Used to be Caitlin's favorite ride when she was little. I did like that they did the At the Dance shtick with the dancing ghosts in the ballroom.
That was very nice.
That was
we
very
just
clever.
Recently, that same night, finished finally going through season 1 of the Muppet Show. So the fact that they brought that back, along with
the ghost from the "I'm looking through you" number.
Yes, yeah. When even the ones dancing in this bit were the characters that used to dance. I mean, it wasn't just that they were dancing; it was the same Muppets.
Right. So that was a neat little callback, especially the ghosts, which I can't remember. They may make a cameo in the Vincent Price and or the Alice Cooper one, but it was really nice to see them because I hadn't seen those in years.
Yeah, they were definitely in the Vincent Price one. I haven't made it to the Alice Cooper one yet.
Well, I guess I looking through you number was during the Vincent Price episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yeah. And I have to say, I don't like the new Kermit. He does not sound right.
The guy that took over for Steve Whitmire, the first time I heard him do the voice, I thought, oh wow, this guy sound, because Steve Whitmire sounded like Steve Whitmire trying to emulate Jim Henson, and Steve did it for so long that I got used to the voice.
Yeah, I think
and
that's
so
what it is.
that kind of became Kermit for me after that, and I was okay with that. And then when I can't remember the guy that's taken over for Steve, but when the new guy started, the first time I heard it, I thought, oh, he sounds more like the way Jim did it. And so I thought, well, this will be fun and interesting because it'll be more like it was when I was a kid. But the ever since that one time I heard him, every time since, it's almost like somebody told him to do it differently than he did the first time. And I'm not sure why he chose to do that, but yeah, it bothers me enough to take me out of it. Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Jim was deeper than Steve when he did Kermit. He did it deeper, but he's almost deeper still than even Jim was at this point. So.
Yeah. Well, even so much that, spoilers, he was on The Masked Singer. Kermit was. Yeah. And I couldn't recognize his voice at all. Oh, and that's a voice that I don't care if he's singing or talking. Yeah. And talking through a modulated voice, at the very least through the singing, you should be able to recognize Kermit the Frog's voice. Right. And I couldn't when Matt Vogel was the guy's name, did it.
Oh, Matt Vogel. Yeah, that's right.
Which I think he's done other Muppets, so it's not like
he's
good.
He did
other stuff just fine.
He took over a couple of Jim's other characters that I think he does Statler, and I think he does Swedish Chef as well. And I think those two,
and he does great with those.
Yeah, I think those two are fine.
He does Uncle Dudley in this special
he does
as
Uncle
well.
Dudley. The other thing that I've noticed is I've thought that the guy that took over for Frank Oz as Piggy, I always thought he did a really good job with her voice, but she was almost not quite on in this either. And that bothered me a little bit. And I was chalking it up to the fact that they had put some sort of voice effect on it when she was in the crystal ball, because I don't think she sounded so bad in the party scene when Gonzo calls, or when Kermit calls, and they are talking on the phone. But
the fact that Kermit and Piggy have Halloween costumes of each other, #life goals.
Yeah,
I mean, right there.
Pretty good.
But in the
not that Kermit looked happy about it.
In the Madame Leona scene, it just wasn't quite right. But I'm more forgiving with that one because the voice actors are very, very close. Even Fozzie at time, every once in a while I can tell it's not Frank, but he's almost dead on most of the time.
Yeah.
And of course, the best part of the special was the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem doing Dancing in the Moonlight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys see the video they released for the whatever YouTube Earth Day thing was?
Yeah, Mr. Blue Skies. I haven't watched it. I've got the link saved because I saw it come across, I think yesterday. I think I saw it come across one of my feeds, whether it was Facebook or what. And so I clicked it because I was at work and was going to look at it later, and I haven't got around to look at it yet.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, 2 in 1 week. I'm a happy camper.
Anything else? You guys do anything else this week? I listened to Dalek Universe 2, which is the 10th Doctor Adventures with Mark 7 and Anya Kingdom. And this is the second box set that continues the series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. They've gone a direction with it that I didn't expect, and in fact, the third story in this box set ended up being my favorite, even though I don't want to spoil it. But they do something timey-wimey that I always feel like is a bit of a cheat, but they pull it off in this one so that it doesn't feel so cheaty. And so that was my favorite story of both box sets so far, is the third one and this one. But all of the stories and all of this has been really good. And this box set particularly was a lot of fun. It was a joy to listen to. So we'll get around there eventually. And then I saw Dalek Universe 3 came out 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to get that one and give that one a listen too. Anybody seen Dune yet? I haven't, but
Not yet.
not yet.
And we are struggling with the I really, 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 really want to go see it in IMAX, and yet we do not have the available time frame to go see it in IMAX. So I suspect we are going to wind up being breaking down and seeing it in probably on HBO Max.
Yeah, I was
and
going to
then
say that's
taking a trip to the theater later.
that's my plan, is to watch it on HBO Max, but I haven't even had time to do that yet. So
We did get out to see No Time to Die.
yeah, how's that?
It's quality. It is very, very good. They do an excellent job of kind of wrapping up the 5-movie Daniel Craig story arc. Again, which it was an interesting experiment. I don't think I would like, personally, I would like to see the Bond movies return to a standalone kind of format. I don't think that I need a lot of plot carryover. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But they do a good job with that. It's got some excellent performances. It's got a really surprisingly great soundtrack. I was astonished at when they said Hans Zimmer was doing the music. Mr. Bois. I thought, oh, he's going to do a Bond movie. Okay, and no, he pulls off. It's much more in line with what's his name, John Barry, kind of.
Oh, really?
Bombastic. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's some absolutely wonderful wink, wink, nudge, nudge moments for the long-term fans, which I won't get into at the risk of spoiling anything.
Okay.
And I will say that now that this run has concluded, it is much, much easier for me to be able to pick up the 5 Daniel Craig movies and set them down over here in a separate universe.
Yeah.
As far as their continuity goes.
Oh, I did that a long time ago.
I you know me, I'm
Yeah.
like you, Glenn. I continually struggle to try and make everything
I
fit,
know.
and these don't. So
No,
they're their own thing now.
Yeah. I just came to that. I just came to that conclusion from my own self, because you're right. I try to make everything fit, but just the Daniel Craig Bonds have never felt like they fit in with the rest of the continuity, and so I've always felt okay, this is a different universe Bond. So
But no, it was very good. I enjoyed it immensely. I don't know that it's quite as good as Skyfall. I think Skyfall is still my favorite of the Craig run, but it would probably be just a half step below. And you should be prepared. It is much more of a political spy thriller
sure.
feel than an action movie feel. Sure. So don't go in expecting, I mean, of course, they blow up lots of stuff, but it's a Bond film. We're not going to get away from that aspect of it.
Well, I'm hoping to get out this week and see it, because I've been super excited for a year and a half now to see it. So
yeah, that was the other thing. I was really worried seeing that trailer over and over and over again as it kept getting bumped to another date and another date and another date, and I was kind of like, man, I feel like I've already seen the movie. And then it opens, and the big motorcycle chase car with the machine guns and the lights, that whole bit that feels like it's kind of the finale that maybe they're spoiling, all of that's right at the beginning.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, oh, we're doing this now? Okay, cool. Because that means all new stuff later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got to give my hats off to the marketing department for pulling that one, although I have to take my hat back from the marketing department for giving us yet another blasé Daniel Craig movie poster.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Bond movie posters used to be cool. They used to be something to look forward to and exciting, and now all of the Craigs are, here's an image of him with a gun, maybe in a suit, maybe in the tactical, turtleneck.
With the title
Usually
wrapped
with
around him, and that's pretty much it.
Usually with his head cut off, That's about it.
Yeah.
But no, it was quality.
Good. Anything else? Well, let's move on to news. Oh, wait. There really wasn't any news this week. We did get the second
Two
title.
episode titles.
Oh, well, that's true. We've gotten 2 episode titles since we recorded. So, Chapter 1, the Halloween Apocalypse, and Chapter 2, the War. It's not the War. I guess it's just War of the Sontarans. So.
Oh, boo. It needs to be the War of the Sontarans.
I don't know. I kind of like War of the Sontarans, but it rolls off your tongue better than the War of the Sontarans.
Yeah,
but that's a Doctor Who title.
Well, yeah, yes and no.
If it's something, it's a Doctor Who title.
Right, exactly. I was going to say if it's a first or second Doctor title, then it would be the War of the Sontarans. But once you get into the Pertwee and the Baker era, then they drop the quite frequently. So.
That's true.
Yeah. And we get an official Halloween special.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I will concur now, or I will concur. I will back off on my statement that I made last week, Sean, that I don't feel like this is going to be a 6-parter in the traditional 6-parter, because when you say chapter 1 and chapter 2, that just says 6-parter. So I'm going to give it to you. I think it'll still be a little more, short form storytelling with a link, but I think that they've pretty much definitively said, yeah, this is a 6-part story.
We open with chapter 1. It's like, okay.
Right. Well, I'm excited. We're just about 6 days out, so. All right, well, let's move on to our reviews. We're going to do Missy first, since we're wrapping that series up.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have a synopsis.
Well,
Titan did not include one in our graphic novel.
Aw.
So where we left off last time, Missy was escorting the Master, the Delgado Master, around time looking for a key that would unlock a door that would reveal a piece of the key to time. So she needed a key to get the key. And was taking him through all of these other incarnations and exploits of other masters fighting other doctors and taking claim for all of the doctor's moves quite poorly. And we kind of wondered when he was going to catch up to her. And in this issue, he finally did. There's your synopsis.
That's a good synopsis.
Yeah. not bad.
All right, mister, you do better.
No, it was good enough. Well, somebody else go first, because I want somebody else. Well, I want somebody else to convince me differently than what I think.
I don't think it was a good resolution.
Oh, good. Then we're going to be on the same page.
I thought it was just fine.
The resolution of the Master knowing that Missy is actually the Master all along was satisfying, but as far as the overall plot of I'm going to get this key to the key and just give it to the Doctor, that's rather disappointing. That there really wasn't something more going on there than her doing a mission for the Doctor, essentially to prove she's good. That and the fact that the key was just a stapler, and then they didn't actually go do anything with the key to get the key. It was just kind of felt like it was all a set up to be fan service and nothing else.
And that's you just hit the nail on the head. I had been enjoying this run, and I think mostly because of all of the beats that it hits, as far as having Delgado's Delgado's Master, having appearances by the Third Doctor and the 12th Doctor, and going through the different incarnations of his life in the last episode, and the sword play between he and Missy, and I just been enjoying all of that, but thinking in the back of my mind all along, when are we going to get to the meat of this story? When are we going to get to the plot of this? What we know the MacGuffin. We know supposedly we're going to get behind this door so we can get the piece of the key to time, and they get to here, and then it feels like, oh well, let's do more nostalgia. Let's bring the Brig in here, and let's bring the Third Doctor in again, and then let's get him on the TARDIS and have another sword fight, and so And then, as you said, the master realizing that Missy was him, was satisfying, and I would agree with that. But that's all you get out of this, because there's not much more to it other than it was just a way to highlight Missy and the master together. And that's really all it feels like now that we've got to the conclusion of it. So that was disappointing to me. I enjoyed the visuals. I enjoyed the cameos. I enjoyed the fan moments. But overall, as a story, I just think it falls down all the way across the board, because there wasn't much going on other than this, this weird ruse that they had going.
For fan moments to be satisfying, they need to be the icing on the cake, not the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, what
neither of you are wrong. I think problem stems from how much we enjoyed issue 1. Issue 1 had such a great setup and great premise, and we were so hyped and so on board. Inevitably, anything that followed it up was not going to meet our expectations based on the greatness of that first issue. And issues 2 and 3 kind of were just filler. They didn't really advance the plot any. They were just, as you guys pointed out, fan moments. So when we get to this one, and waiting for the deliciously juicy reveal that, well, of course, Delgado's master knows who this woman is. Of course, he knows that she's him. And of course, there's another sword fight, because, you have to. Who doesn't want to see Missy and the master squaring off in the TARDIS with swords? It's kind of been under the surface of this the whole time, waiting to boil over, and now it is.
It's their version of sexual tension.
Yeah, in a weird way. And then the doctor shows up with tea and cookies and says, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this. And the air is let out of it in such a way that it feels very much like this was a test. But what a test. I'm going to give you control of the TARDIS. I'm going to give you access to go spring one of your former selves. And you're going to hunt through a bunch of different things and find, this mundane object that we're going to tell him is something cool. Because obviously I'm not going to let you go hunt for a key that will open a door the key to time. I mean, come on. But I'm going to give you all this other stuff. And in a way, I think that's incredibly arrogant of the Doctor to presume that the two masters would not immediately overthrow him. That he is, don't get me wrong, he's genuinely wanting to reform Missy.
Yeah.
And give her every opportunity to do it. But you can't tell me for 1 minute that he didn't have another trap or something with the temporal state of grace, or that there wasn't something on hand that would have tipped the balance of power back into his hands if push came to shove.
Well, I want to think that he had a backup plan that he didn't have to engage.
Because if he didn't have that, then suddenly this becomes an exercise in extreme foolishness in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to reach down and pet the crocodile and just bank that he's not going to bite my hand off.
Right.
That seems like a good way to lose a hand. I mean, and if you succeed, well, okay, I guess good on you. Would it work a second time? You still don't know. And Missy is very much like a crocodile sitting in the water with just her eyes poking out with some teeth. I mean, that's a very apt analogy, I think. But if he had a trap or a reversal or something, well, then it feels like he doesn't really trust her either.
Yeah.
And the whole exercise is moot, because you're just giving her busy work to see if she'll obey you, which is not the same as trusting her.
Yeah.
And so that whole segment just, and don't get me wrong, I don't know how you write that. I don't know how you come up with a satisfactory thing. I think that's why that particular run of the series, we were kept very off balance with it because honestly, I'm not sure Moffat knew how to do it either.
Yeah.
How do you build this up to a satisfactory resolution where, this absolutely evil character is given some leash, but not that much without, flipping the table. And then you get to the end and, okay, well, it has a satisfactory ending in that case, but we didn't get to see the mechanics of how it worked. This is a chance to open it up and look at the mechanics of it and suddenly realize, oh, I didn't need to see the mechanics of that because it really kind of ruins the illusion there. Yeah. So as much as I loved the first part, I can't say I was that disappointed in the last, but it really just kind of was like, yeah, it ends how it kind of needs to, and it ends, and thank goodness it was only 4 parts as opposed to a whole lot more padding and running about in the middle that we didn't need, because it could have been far worse.
But I also wonder, had they gotten a 6-issue run, if they would have developed more of a story rather than just go, well, we only have 4 issues, so let's just make it fun and fanny.
Maybe. But I feel like the danger with that falls back to the key to time. The very fact that you have announced that's your MacGuffin. It's either a MacGuffin or it's a retread. And, it's been done. Technically,
twice,
3 times now? For this all-powerful artifact that is never meant to be assembled. And, we just happen to have an instance here where we need you to assemble it. And that happens several times throughout your one Doctor's lifetime. And of course, I'm speaking within the confines of all his regenerations.
Right.
You can't bring something like that back into play without a very big epic story to go along with it. It demands that kind of attention. And I don't think you could tell that story in 6 parts with all of the moving framework of multiple masters and what's going on there. I think you would need 8 or possibly even a full year, go 12 issues with it. And then, you could probably get into it. They did it on TV in 6 parts, but, we had a couple of 6-parters in there, or just the one.
Even still, they were more than 1 episode apiece.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there were still multiple parts to it. Right. So that to me is the danger there, is if you either have to do it or don't do it. And I kind of wish they'd have just shied away from it altogether.
Well,
I mean, admittedly, you needed a lure. You needed a bait,
but I see
to get him out of Storm Cage.
I think that's the key. The key to time should have only been it should have been a perceived bait, and then they should have went somewhere else with it. You know what I mean? They should have had a different story, something else to resolve. That's just a ruse in order to entice him and get him on board. And then
see, that would have been wonderful if they, it's the key to time, and he gets all excited, and you get out of Storm Cage, and then it's like, we're going after that. Are you nuts?
And that's what I mean about. If they'd give him maybe 6 issues as opposed to 4, maybe they could have done that. Used the key as the bait, and then went off and did something different and original, and given us a little more meat to the story rather than the fluff that we got.
Yeah, that performs both duties then, because you get the fan service with the name drop, and then you get the rug pulled out from under you. It's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
They also could have just cut down the escape issue and still kept the whole issue of fan service of the back history of, visiting the Master's timeline, and given us more plot instead of spending so long to escape out of Storm Cage. You could easily cut to and they escaped. Easy peasy, no problem. Yeah. I could easily believe that 2 Masters could escape Storm Cage, no problem. Considering how easy River does it all the time,
that's
2
just
Masters, it's not an issue.
Storm Cage is meant to
considering one has a TARDIS.
It's meant to be this big impenetrable. Nobody escapes from Storm Cage. And the fact that River does it on a weekly basis is kind of isn't she special? And the Master and 2 of them should admittedly also have no problem. But the fact that they entrust the Master to Storm Cage, I think, does say something for the defensive capabilities of the system and its ability to keep people locked up. And I don't know that I wanted it to be that easy.
Keep in mind, though, that this is Delgado's master, and he didn't spend much time in Storm Cage at any point because we saw him at various points in the Third Doctor's time. So obviously he got out after Missy had broke him out once. He got out again. and was able to return and play foil to the Doctor some more. So I don't think Storm Cage held him for long anyway, even without Missy's help.
Well, and Delgado was such a master of... I heard it described once to describe Hannibal Lecter. They said, you've heard the expression poetry in motion, and Hannibal Lecter is poetry at rest. Because there's something very still fluid about the way that he doesn't move. Yeah. And I kind of have always, ever since I heard that, when we go back and watch a Third Doctor story, anytime Delgado's in jail, that's what springs to mind. I genuinely kind of believe that if he's locked up somewhere, it's because he wants to be. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what the plot is presenting us with. He just exudes that, yeah, I need a break, and I'm going to sit here and read my book and do my thing and plot a little bit. And is it Tuesday yet? Nope, can't escape yet. Okay. He just, I don't know. He gives off that vibe. So I didn't mind it. I also, because we gave the first issue such high marks because of how fun and adventurous it was getting out of Storm Cage, I'm totally okay leaving that one alone.
Well,
but I agree that the rest of it could have been truncated.
Was issue 2. Like issue 1 ends with them in a fight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they still didn't get out of Storm Cage yet,
right.
did they?
Yeah, it was 2 full issues.
Yeah. And they almost needed longer issues, I think, to probably do the story justice in 4 parts.
That I could see.
The issues were a little quick. But Titan comic issues tend to be a little shorter than like a Marvel.
Well, it's funny that we say that fairly frequently, and I'm because in our minds, well, yes, you can just requisition a couple extra pieces of paper, right?
That's true.
It's like television. Hey, Strictly Come Dancing. You don't mind if we run 5 minutes over this week, do you? Not a big deal. We're gonna eat up that commercial slot. Okay, thanks.
All right.
It was enjoyable. It just kind of fizzled a bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our next set of comics, because this is actually the 13th Doctor Volume 3. But it collects, I think, 4 issues together, or is it 3? I can't remember for sure.
9 through 12.
So 4 issues.
Old friends. In this swashbuckling installment, the Doctor and her fam, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham, get caught up in the escapades of infamous rogue Time Lord, the Corsair. Accused of a crime she didn't commit, the Doctor becomes involved in a daring heist with her old friend in order to retrieve something valuable for the Corsair's mysterious benefactor.
Sean?
I kind of want to give it a bump, but it kind of suffers from the same issues, I think.
Really?
I think this is a head above better than the Missy one.
It is. I think it's a head above better than the Missy one, and it's tons better than the preceding volumes of the 13th Doctor that we've read so far.
Well, you guys go first.
Ties up that storyline.
Yeah. I like it because we get some of the background of the Corsair, which we haven't seen before. I think there has been other allusions to her anyway, or he or her, they. Anyway, in material since Neil Gaiman's story. But was it the Doctor's wife? Was that the
yeah.
Yeah. So, he invented her, and then we're getting a chance, I think, to explore the character in the comic. I think is good. She comes across as a Captain Jack Sparrow mixed with Han Solo mixed with Laura Croft. But I really liked that about her. I think it was very neat. I think I love the setup of her setting up the Doctor and the group that's holding the space whale. I can't remember what the name of the species was or the race, but
It was a weird, unpronounceable one.
yeah. I like the fact that she set her up in order to, lure her in so that she could help her, rescue, or not rescue. I suppose rescue.
Liberate.
Yeah, liberate. There you go. I like the fact that she was duped, and I love the big surprise that with the collector being the one that she's actually working for, and unknowingly knowing, she doesn't know who he is, obviously, which that was a relief because I kind of wondered if she was in league with him when they reveal that it's a collector. But I like the fact that she just answered a want ad and just had trust in the fact that he was going to take it from there and Free Willy. But I thought that was a neat revelation that it's an earlier version of the collector, or the hoarder, not the collector, the hoarder.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we bring back the two which now I'm actually, we had the scientist that turned time agent. We had them show up in volume 2 in that story. And I think we all agreed that, okay, what are they doing here? It feels like they were very unnecessary. And it was like, oh, we just felt like we wanted, hey, remember these guys? And that's how it very much felt. But now that they have shown up and been part of the resolution of this storyline, it makes sense to me now why the writers, was it Hauser, decided that she needed to include them as more of a not just a reminder of who they are, but also it kind of gave us kind of a timestamp. Yeah, it gave us a timestamp because when we're first introduced to them, they're prisoners of the hoarder, and they're having to do his bidding. And then when we leave them, they've kind of gone back to their they've been freed, going back to their own life. When we return to them, we find out that now they've been acting as time agents because they've been through this stuff and they have this experience and all these things. So we're given a kind of a footprint of their where they are, where they've been, where they are in their life, so that when we come here and they're in a much more advanced age and they've been doing this longer, and it makes sense that she went to them at an older age so that the collector or the hoarder wouldn't necessarily remember them. But it makes more sense now that they showed up in the middle part of this arc. And so that made that a lot better for me as well.
A little bit of timey-wimey.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. I love the resolution of it. I like the interaction between the Doctor and the Corsair. I feel like the fam again gets backseated in this. For this guest star of the week, which maybe that to its fault, that would be the thing that I didn't like about it, is I felt like we didn't get enough of Graham, Yaz, and Brian. But I can kind of overlook that, but I think I'm also not liking that because of the fact that, we've already said goodbye to Graham and Brian in the TV series, and so this is a little bit more of them. We're going to presumably be saying bye to Yaz, especially based on what she said recently in an interview. And so I want more of these. And with comics and books and things like that, they're always going to be new stories about them. But I really kind of feel like, I want more of them. I'm not ready to say goodbye, and so that kind of probably was my biggest struggle with it, was the fact that they felt like they were sidelined a little too much in this one, that they didn't get enough to do again at the behest of having a guest star of the week.
Had it been any guest star other than the Corsair, I would have had a bigger problem with it. But because the Corsair was so well written and pretty much spot on for how I would have imagined the Corsair to act, I was completely okay with them being a backseat because of those things of, we said goodbye to Ryan and Graham, and we are going to get more Yaz in the future. So I feel like my storytelling with Ryan and Graham is complete. I don't necessarily need more stories with them as much as I enjoy them. Because the comics have never really truly done them justice, I never thought. And I'm hoping we'll get more Yaz centered stories in the next season, or at least more development for her, so she doesn't feel so she's been pushed to the background. So I don't feel like at least right now, don't feel like I need more Yaz stories in other media too, because I'm hopeful that I'll get more. So the fact that they are pushed to the background, I'm okay with.
Yeah, it's definitely a tightrope to walk. If you consider, okay, I have 4 characters on my crew, logically, you should look to give each character about 25% of the story. But the show is not called 4 people on my crew. It's called Doctor Who. So the Doctor's going to get the majority of the time. So even if you trim the Doctor down to 50% of the story and 50% for the other 3, well, okay, we can maybe still make that work. They're diminished, but they're still there. Oh, but now we're adding a guest star. Well, that time's got to come from somewhere in order to make it a meaningful appearance. Okay, we're a little away from here, a little away from here. And before long, you have completely relegated these side characters to nothing but side characters. And it's very frustrating. And it's one of the things that continues to bother me about the 5th Doctor's era. It's just that crowded TARDIS syndrome. And so I come into the comics not necessarily expecting somebody will have come up with a magic solution to that, but I continue to hope that this will finally be the one that so-and-so doesn't feel sidelined, because it's almost to the point of write them out of the story. I mean, if you really can't think of something to do with them, oh, I left them on Planet X and they're on holiday. They deserved a break. And then you go have an adventure with the Corsair yourself, because they genuinely didn't really provide anything. Yaz did initially when the Doctor was locked up and was kind of acting as both, counsel and inquisitor on her behalf.
And moral compass.
And moral compass. And then once they were on the run, Yaz had a couple of moments to be involved in the, well, are you okay being an Ocean's 11 type criminal? Yeah, okay. I'm out of my jurisdiction, so I think I'm okay with it. Plus, we're doing for the good. It's not like we're just out robbing and thieving. That to me was ripe for exploration. If you're gonna go there, let's really go there and give Yaz a crisis of conscience or something about it. And we could have really explored her character a little bit, even if Graham and Ryan continued to be sidelined in favor of her getting the bulk of the story. I'd have been fine with that. And I think she had a potentially very interesting dynamic with the Corsair because of that. If Yaz had come down a little harder on her law enforcement side of things and a little less on the, oh, you're fun, so I'm going to let it slide, I'd have been curious to see where that would have gone and where that would have put the Doctor, on the scale of, well, she's not wrong, so... Yeah. There was all kinds of stuff there that could have happened that didn't. And again, it's a comic. I understand that. We've got to hurry up and get to the pretty pictures and the action sequences. So the first issue of this opens with this wonderful tease of, oh, well, you're obviously the person that stole it, because we have this, DNA graphic of two hearts. And then, well, can you describe her? Well, you wore a different head. Okay. And she had her hair up like this. And everybody had the same thought. And coming off of the Missy comic, because I read these back to back, and I went, ooh, we get more Missy.
I thought awesome. The same.
And I was just hook, line, and sinker. I swallowed that bait. No, reel me into the boat because I'm going to go on an adventure with Missy. And you get there, and here's her ship. I was like, what is that? Okay, that's a different look, but I can totally see Missy in a pirate outfit. That's going to be awesome. Okay. And we get into the bar, and there's this woman standing up against the bar, and the line is revealed, the Corsair. Ka-chung! There's my jaw on the floor. And it suddenly went from being about an 8 on my excitement meter to an 11.5. I was like, oh, now we're on, oh, this is going to be good. Okay. So we dive into, the rest of the story. And much like the Missy story, the setup was fantastic. And then didn't quite deliver. It was fun. I loved how, as you said, Glenn, that she's kind of a mix of all these things. I was thinking more along the lines of, well, in some ways she really is kind of like Missy, because she's got the, not evil, but morally ambiguous compass. Mm-hmm. And you never knew what she was going to do. But then she also had a bit of River about her. Mm-hmm. Because this is somebody that, not only... I very much got the sense in this that the Corsair and the Doctor may have been more than friends at one point in time in the past.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but I think it was open for interpretation, and I'm fine with that. It's the Doctor needs some more companionship of that nature in my mind. But so there was that element to it, which was kind of wonderful, and I think that was probably what was springing the River to mind, along with her kind of carefree, blasé attitude, and again that moral ambiguity about it. And I liked the fact that she slightly butted heads with the rest of the group, and kind of had that Missy routine of your name is your other human, I don't know you. Okay, fun stuff. Hitches on board the TARDIS. We set up this grand plan that we talk about, but then never utilize. I really kind of got on board for the heist movie. I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, we're gonna break into a vault. No.
Well, it happens. It just most of it happens off page.
Yeah, it's kind of and then they fight. No, they escape Stormcage. No, I wanted to see the mechanics of how you were going to do that. And then we get another great reveal of what they're in there to steal. A star whale.
Let me stop you there, because since you're kind of progressing through this, let me jump in here. I do like the fact that the Doctor at some point is you can tell she's trying to decide if she wants to help the Corsair, if she wants to actually go on this trip. And we have that quick little interlude where she goes to the locker with the cube, and she pulls it out, and then she remembers when she found the cube on house. I suppose it was a planet. It was an asteroid on the asteroid house, and she's we get that replay in her mind of that kind of flashback to the 11th Doctor story, and then she puts it away, and then she goes in, and that's when she starts saying, so what is it? What do you have in mind? So that was a neat cutaway.
It worked well as not only a justification for why the Doctor makes up her mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to spend some time with my friend,
right,
regardless of the outcome of this, because I may not get the opportunity again. Okay, that's a beautiful sentiment. It again brought up a maybe. So, is the Doctor willing to play with the web of time a little bit? Will the connection between the two of them be so great that at the end of this adventure she will Doc Brown a letter? On the night I go back, you die. Don't go to house. Even though that would have completely altered, her fate.
Yeah.
The paradoxes abound. So I would have liked a moment of indecision with her grappling with that. Maybe she starts to say something and then reels it back in because she knows she can't. I don't know. I wonder, it was a beautiful moment, but I wanted more of it.
I wonder if, though, you kind of went that route with your thinking because you initially had the idea that perhaps they had more of a relationship in the past. And so you kind of went there. So the next logical step is that, possibility of the setting up the paradox. Whereas I didn't see that initially until you brought my attention to it. And so I didn't see that being a problem. I felt that this was still in the Doctor's purview where she could have this moment with somebody and then move on. So I can see why you kind of went that direction with your thinking.
It's very possible that that's tied in with it. But so then we break the Star Whale out only to, everybody got captured off screen. And we need to leave now. And we'll go back and pick them up later, I promise. Okay, so we go and drop the thing off. And it's the I keep wanting to call him the Collector.
Hoarder.
The Hoarder.
If I say the Collector, it brings up a totally different guy.
Right.
So, it's the Hoarder. Oh, big, wow. Okay, that's kind of a cool reveal. I like how this is, we're going to see this. And then very neatly wrapped up with the Return of the Time Agents. And I liked that. And then we go back and break them out of prison by we just again kind of off
don't really have to break them out of prison.
Well,
we just materialize around them, and
I was just saying that happened on screen. It was the breakout happens technically on page, but you're right, it was more simplistic than it could have been.
Well, and that's it. It's simplistic is probably the word to use. Everything that happened in this story was I don't want to say dumbed down, but it was watered down to the point where because we needed those pages to have the Corsair being more flamboyant and exciting and stuff like that. And again, I don't necessarily mind that from the standpoint of, if you're going to do the Corsair, do the Corsair. It's kind of like bringing Captain Jack back in the holiday special and not giving him anything to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to do it, let's do it. And so they did that part of it right. It just feels like that came at the expense of other things. And I kind of feel like the writer maybe didn't know where to go with the Corsair once she was unleashed. I feel like that was a really great ta-da moment that then, oh, well, now I have to make this character do things, and I need a plot, and,
I can see where you're coming from. I didn't have as much issue, but I can see where you're coming from.
Now, overall, yes, I liked this run much better than the Missy. And that's saying something, because I really, really liked the Missy initial, really super high on those first handful of issues. But I liked this one overall better than Missy. I just feel like it suffers from some of the same problems where it kind of petered out toward the end.
Okay.
I think a lot of those problems stem from doing a 4-issue arc instead of a 5-issue arc. I think on this one specifically, a lot of those complaints you were having, Sean, of where things would happen off camera or things wouldn't delve into anything, is because of the timing and the pacing. And when Titan switched over to 4-issue arcs for everything, I think it's kind of suffered the storytelling.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I don't mind their decision to do it. It certainly makes sense from a publishing standpoint that then you can, squeeze an extra graphic novel out of the year. You do 3-4-parters. And that's what Andrew Cartmel, wound up doing with his run of the Seventh Doctor. But then there were also opportunities within that to fudge those numbers a little bit. It's like, well, couldn't we have done a 5 and 5 and a 2 this year? Okay, well, maybe,
or
okay.
2 standalones, one shots.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that would have, or a 5. However you want to break those 12 issues up is just, if this one needs a little more room to breathe, well, stick a 1 shot on the end of it, and, it'll be 6, and that way it's still broken up neatly for you. However you need to do it, I'm fine with that. But let the stories be the stories they need to be, as opposed to, there's an old adage with the Target novelizations that the writers used to joke about, that was, you write 275 pages and then stop.
Yeah, so...
And sometimes I feel like that's what the comics are doing.
No, and I think you're right, but I think also I have enjoyed the 13th Doctor... That's what I've liked about the 13th Doctor stories, is they are only 4 stories, and I think because what they've done is they've tightened up the writing, they've tightened up the story, they've tightened it up so that I know in the specifically the 10th Doctor and some of the 11th Doctor's run, I really kept feeling like they were dragging it out. There was a lot of times that I felt it's so dragged out. And I think you guys are right that 5 issues isn't too much. But I think with the 4, I think the 4, 4, and 4 has really forced the writer, and most of these it's Hauser that's writing them, but has really forced her to kind of tighten up the writing. And I felt, I disagree with this one, with anybody saying that this one needed to be longer. I felt the balance was there. Yes, I agree with Sean that there's a lot of off-page things, but I think because of the fact that, as you said, we have to focus on the Corsair and the relationship and things like that, that I think that's where that was done relatively well, is that we did that off page, because who needs to see some of that stuff when we can, sacrifice that kind of stuff for more of that interaction between the Doctor and Corsair, and also utilize that to our benefit in the comedy of the piece that keeps it light enough when, they're materializing around them, and Ryan realizes that if they had been a foot shorter, that they would have materialized without their heads. I thought the writing was tightened up in this one, and the balance was pretty good.
I don't disagree.
As far as pacing,
and it's one of those things where if you go into it knowing that we have however many pages these are, 28 pages. Okay, well, they're going to have a bar fight. Well, okay, in order to properly portray the action, that's going to be at least 2 pages. Okay. Oh, then we've got this extended heist sequence. Well, okay, that's going to be 26 of your 28. Okay. Well, then we've got and you start realizing pretty quickly that in order to properly draw and plot these things out, sacrifices have to be made just because of the nature of the beast. Now, there's a part of me that, as a comic reader, well, I kind of want the action. I want the splash page and the, look at us firing ray guns and doing cool things that you can only do in comics. But then the other part of me is like, no, I want the character interaction. I don't read these things for just the mindless color. I want the Doctor brooding over the message cube and, those kinds of things, which are much quieter moments that, they can be done in smaller amounts. But when you start to, no, we're going to do this whole thing with the Corsair, and you add more of those moments in, you cut out more of the action and it happens off screen. So, it's a balancing act, totally, for sure. I'm not saying that. And once again, I do not besmirch the fine people over at Titan, because they are. I have enjoyed the 13th Doctor comics, honestly, better than I've enjoyed the 13th Doctor show at this point. Maybe with a handful of exceptions. I think because even I don't think we've had a stinker issue of the 13th Doctor series yet, but we have had some episodes that were pretty ripe. So they're doing a very good job over there.
Yeah. Final
and
thoughts?
They have the voice of all the characters too. I think, and it never felt like any of them didn't sound like the character that they were supposed to be.
It's Jodie Hauser that's writing these, right? Am I got that?
Yeah.
I think I certainly think she has the as you said, the voice of each of the characters, and I don't. There is at no point where I go, well, that doesn't feel like something that Graham would do, or that doesn't feel like something the Doctor would. At no point in this entire run of 13 Doctor stories have I felt that they were out of character.
She's told you about the running? Yeah, it's her favorite bit. I have to give a line. When it was revealed to be the Corsair, a line from Count of Monte Cristo leapt immediately into my head. Seeing her standing there, which, if you guys have not seen the 2002 Kevin Reynolds directed one with Guy Pearce, I cannot recommend it enough. It is such a fantastic film. But just after Edmund has escaped his imprisonment on the island, he's washed up ashore and he's discovered by a band of pirates. And Luigi, the Pirate King, is explaining that, well, you have the chance to endear yourself to me because we got to, kill this guy because he tried to steal from us, and that's Jacopo. And I want, I need to kill him because I've told the crew that, this won't be tolerated. But some of them really want me to show mercy. But if I show mercy, then the other half of the crew will, it's not going to end well. But if I have you do it, you have a chance of doing this. And he says, well, how is it? He says, well, we'll watch you and Jacopo fight to the death. If Jacopo wins, we welcome him back to the crew. If you win, I've given Jacopo the chance to live, even if he did not take advantage of it, and you can take his place on the boat. And Edmund says, what if I win and don't want to be a smuggler? And Luigi replies, then we cut your throat and we're a bit short-handed. And Edmund replies, then I find that smuggling is the life for me, and I would be delighted to kill your friend the maggot. That is the line that the whole exchange ran through my head when the Corsair is standing there leaning up against the bar. It was like, that's who this person is. It just clicked instantly. And I was thrilled that the rest of her interactions throughout the comic bore that out.
Didn't let you down.
Nope. It's one of the few times it was like reading a book or judging a book by the cover. It's like, yep. Nailed that one. So that was an added bit of fun for me.
All right. Well, Sean, what do we got coming? This ought to be easy. What do we got coming up on the schedule?
Doctor Who returns. Alert. New show incoming.
If you haven't heard, the show is back next week on Halloween with The Halloween Apocalypse, Chapter 1. Or Chapter 1, The Halloween Apocalypse. I got to do it in the right order.
Yeah.
And so we will, of course, be continuing our run of weekly reviews as we go through the new season of Doctor Who, along with a new contest. For those that have been following along, you all know that the new season is kind of overall called Doctor Who Flux. And though they spelled it wrong, they kind of missed a trick there. But we once again have teamed up with our friends over at Looney Labs because they have sent us a copy of the Doctor Who Flux game. And we thought, well, what better opportunity to gift this to a lucky listener out there than to tie it in with the new season. So what we're going to be doing is every episode, when we come on, we will reveal a keyword. And it will be your job as the listener to send us that keyword, showing that you listened to the episode, to one of our social media platforms. And we'll give you all the details each week as we go. And each entry is an entry to win this Flux game. So you can look for that, and good luck.
And, of course, you can continue to follow updates on travelingthevortex.com. And if you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by becoming a patron and clicking the Patreon link on our site and consider supporting us. And thank you to those who already are. And we have been discussing some options and some ways to give some patron exclusive content. So I'll be sure to look into that and look forward to that in the future. Also, be sure to consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast. And make sure you join in the conversation on our listeners forum. I'm hoping that will become quite active when the series starts and people are chatting about the episodes. No spoilers, though, please. No spoilers.
Or at least include a spoiler flag.
Yes, absolutely. So, until next time, if there's nothing else, until next time, I'm Glenn.
Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.